Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have the 27th episode in my Bioweapons Blues series. It's not stopping. And so this one I've titled, Behold, a Pale Horse. And I have a lot of films. There's a lot of things happening. There was just another Fauci drop today. Exposed this monster Gottlieb, who I've kind of overlooked. It's been a mistake. But he's involved in censorship. So I'll probably have to get to that on the 28th or 29th. To name names. These videos do have Fauci, so I'm going to analyze some of the lies and outright disinformation that Fauci's using. And really just kind of going on TV to find more suckers who will listen to his evil lies. Really a monster. Should have already been arrested. Should tell you everything about the state of the government in the United States. But here goes. So I'll play some.
I think it's coming to a point now where more and more people, more and more doctors are going to have to stand up as quickly as possible, because these vaccines, there's no doubt now, what we know, these vaccines have been associated with more serious adverse events and death than any drug ever released in the history of the pharmaceutical industry. It is hard to overestimate the importance of this event. And people need to take notice really quickly now.
Thank you for that. And just to recap for anybody who may not have seen our previous interviews with you, Philip, just briefly.
I think it's coming to a point now.
That was Dr. Philip Altman, so you can check that out. Unfortunately, his mic wasn't in great shape. And this next one is from Pierre Corey.
But I will tell you, on the insides of the medical centers, I've been talking to some nurses. They're telling me that the doctors now are seeing a lot of vaccine injury where they were disassociated before. They were denying it. They kept, dismissing the idea that the vaccine is caused. Now they can't. The oncologists are seeing cancers. The neurologists are seeing strokes in patients with no risk factors at younger and younger ages. The cardiologists are seeing heart attacks with these fibrin clots that are filling the coronary arteries to the extent they've never seen before. I mean, there's plenty of specialties who are seeing things at a degree they haven't. Talk about the obstetrician gynecologists, the miscarriages, the stillbirths, the dysmenorrhea, all of the fertility and menstrual abnormalities amongst oftentimes childbearing ages. And so, I mean, this is a humanitarian catastrophe. And it has been ignored. It has been suppressed. It has been, censored. But you can't hide from this data when it's in your face every day. The system is going to have to they're going to have to address this in some way at some point.
Personal question, does it get...
And then this is Peter McCullough, who I featured and referenced many, many times.
Does it get tiring or disillusioning? You've been correct. I mean, you got me booted from YouTube in August 2021. It's been a while. Does it get old being right and no one's listening and knowing that people are going to continue to get damaged, injured, and die?
Tommy, if no one was listening, my phone wouldn't be ringing off the hook. I have to tell you, I feel the intensity of the entire world right now. And you've known me for a long time, for 3 years now. I've just brought the world my best analysis, my best effort as a doctor. I'm not infallible, but I've been very careful. No hyperbole, no guesswork. And I've been right on the mark. And even things not related to the vaccine. People ask me, is he going to recover? And I give my best prognosis. And America is starting to see doctors who are consistently right about a lot of things and are very accurate. And they are gravitating to those doctors. Doctors who are out there saying things that are completely irresponsible without any backing at all. The public is starting to jettison those people and starting to zero in on, in a sense, they're picking their own doctors, their own consultants for, reliable sources of information.
Yeah, it's going to keep going. Nothing's going to stop it. And it's horrifying, but I think your your resilience, your personal resilience is inspiring, and it reminds me to not be a wimp and to keep doing episodes, because I see you trucking and I'm like, what am I complaining about? So, Dr. McCullough, I have nothing but respect for you and nothing but love for you. And closing thoughts?
Well, Tommy, I'll tell you, let's leave it here. Make sure your followers know to check out my website, petermcculloughmd.com. It'll take you to America Out Loud Talk Radio, McCullough Report, and to Courageous Discourse Substack, my new book, Courage to Face COVID-19, as well as I'm very active back on all social media. I was suspended from Twitter for 2 months. I look back on it, just 2 months. Now my followers are skyrocketing. And, make sure you follow me on Twitter. You'll get the updates as they come out. I'm a frequent contributor on Fox News, Newsmax, One America News. Victor,
you retweeted, I should say.
So this is McCullough again. So it's not stopping. The trains are kind of still going to Auschwitz.
A Rasmussen report. It says died suddenly. More than 1 in 4 people think someone they know died from the COVID-19 vaccine. I've been dealing with you for a year, sir. Your story has always been the same. You've been very consistent. Is the vaccine killing people? Yes or no?
I'm going to be very clear about this, and I recently just testified in the U.S. Senate, December 7th, 2022. The vaccine is killing people, and it's killing large numbers of people. It fulfills all the criteria for the Bradford Hill tenets of causality for a medicinal product causing death. Our CDC, as of December 23rd, 2022, has over 16,000 Americans that have died within a few days of taking the vaccine. And that's probably a gross underreport.
You retweeted, I should say, a Rasmussen report. It says,
yeah, so that's the Rasmussen report. I think I mentioned it last, series 26. But this is from Vigilant Fox. I mention him all the time, Vigilant Fox. And he writes here, over 16,000 Americans have died within a few days of taking the C-19 injection. So I suggest you follow these guys, McCullough and the Vigilant Fox.
Sanjay Gupta is somebody in the media, he can't mislead the public. I'm a doctor in a position of authority. I can't mislead the public either. I have an obligation to describe risks and benefits. By the way, any entity or any person who said get vaccinated has broken the law. We have laws that say that for any biological product, it must be presented in fair balance. There must be risks and benefits. No one can bark a command get vaccinated.
You're saying they've broken the law
by
encouraging vaccines?
They've broken the law by presenting the vaccines without risks and benefits. Mm-hmm. They cannot do that. You know that because you see any other commercial for any other product on TV, it says what the benefits are, then it says warning.
Side effects may include
right. But how
cause loss of head.
But how can the vaccines be presented with no fair balance of risks and benefits? It's breaking the law. From the highest position, our president of the United States has broken the law. You cannot present information on biological products without risks and benefits.
Who will hold them accountable, though?
Look, we know what's going on. Who do they work for? They work for us. We're holding them accountable.
Rico.
Right, and that is also one of the things he keeps mentioning vaccines. It's actually a misnomer. These are gene therapies. So even that is indicative of fraud.
What some of the crimes that surfaced were racketeering, RICO, denial of civil rights, medical malpractice, device malpractice, and denial of informed consent. But the thing that came up over and over was fraud. And this goes to, conversations you've had here with Edward Dowd, who's also saying if fraud can be proven against Pfizer, it breaks up their impunity or their immunity from prosecution civilly and possibly criminally. I'm again not a lawyer, but fraud is a big deal.
So from on a scale from 1 to 10, you're at a 7 or 8 or higher?
Of criminality?
Of actual items that will lead to either civil or criminal. Civil also doesn't need to be criminal, civil or criminal.
So it is too early to say. The lawyers were very clear that I need to make that clear. That lawyer time takes longer, but there was affirmative discussion that I can't kind of disclose, that serious things happen here with legal repercussions, and they are all over it. So let's put it that way. I don't know. I can only speculate about why so many respected credentialed.
This is Naomi Wolf. If you're just listening, I mentioned her in the first part of this Bioweapons Blues series. So that would be episode 1. And mentioned her book as well, The Bodies of Others. So I recommend people check that out.
People let this appalling violence against our children and the bodies of our people unfold in this massive crime. But it will be hundreds of insiders, hundreds of people at the FDA, hundreds of people at the CDC. It will be the head of the CDC. It will be Rochelle Walensky. It's not just Pfizer. It's our whole government HHS apparatus colluded with this. So I don't know the answer yet, but I do know that many, many doctors and nurses said, because of government policies and because of AMA policies and other licensing board policies, board of health policies, I can't say anything or I'll lose my job. So we know, and I've seen those documents, I've seen the internal documents going from the licensing boards to doctors saying you'll be disbarred from this information. So people knew they had to toe this line and not believe a word of this, or they would lose their jobs. I still think there's a lot of cowards out there who failed in their responsibility as healers and medical professionals. But they'll have to face their own consciences. But our government insiders saw these materials, the FDA saw them and said, go ahead and tell the spokesmodels to say it's safe and effective. Here are the talking points. Tell the spokesmodels to say, take your 16-year-old to get injected as soon as possible. I know people who are influencers on social media who got paid to, talk about their teenagers being injected with the mRNA vaccine. They didn't know that this was causing heart damage to kids. They didn't even know the trials were over. And I'm just going to say one last thing. As a mom, I love a 21-year-old man who is a relative who got injected after May 21 and before August 21. That is when we should have been told and we weren't about the heart harms. And I would personally do everything in my power to make sure Rochelle Walensky and the heads of the FDA and the other governing bodies here have, face justice.
Yeah, naming names. So now this one is a pilot who's suing the Biden administration. The Biden administration is neck deep in this catastrophe, okay? I want to make it very clear. The Biden administration is tied to all this and is the one censoring the truth. Okay? Understand that.
Injecting experimental drugs into me. I too did not want to get the vaccine. I've never had a flu shot in my life. Injecting experimental drugs into me, not something I ever wanted to do. Traveling between the state that I live in, Hawaii and California, where I have family, 2 states that have archaic travel restrictions. I decided between the pressure of that and my airline that was going to require a mandate vaccine, I went and got the jab. I did it at 11:30 in the morning in Hawaii. Everything was normal. I went to bed. Woke up at 3:30 in the morning with my heart pounding out of my chest. I went to the ER. They hooked me up quickly to EKG, IVs, did blood work, quickly determined that I was in atrial fibrillation. It's a major cause of stroke. As Lee said, there's critical phases of flight where this stuff, when I certified to go fly, I have to check off a box before I go fly all you lovely people, wherever you want to go, before I take that multi-million airplane. I check this box and it says I'm fit to fly. That was before COVID. That's when you knew, yeah, I have food poisoning, I'm cold, have a cold, whatever. Here, you never know when the genie's going to come out of the bottle and smack you down. I could have stroked out at 100 feet trying to land an airplane with 40 airplanes lined up next to us. I could have just pushed down on that stick before the person next to me could do anything. It's all over for a lot of people. Not a good scenario. Pete Buttigieg isn't telling you anything about this. The administration is not. The NIH, the CDC, they suppress all this stuff. There's a number of pilots out there that are fearful to come forward and speak. They're fearful of retribution. There's guys that are going to work with crushing pains in their chest and their heads. They're scared that they're going to lose their careers because they're 25 years old. This has got to stop.
5 years of the studies that are showing how much harm was caused early on, and Pfizer knew how much damage was being done. Over 1,223 thereabouts deaths in the first month. Over 100,000 adverse reactions. Many of those adverse.
Yeah, the audio on that one isn't very good. Let's go here, Michael Eden.
Relationship between injections and the events, and is absolutely clear cut that these are the cause of death. Mechanistically, the design of these products was knowingly deficient in a number of ways. First, they caused the expression in the human body of toxic virus spike protein. Unlike what they told us that it would stay in the injection site, they distribute widely around the body. There is no built-in limit to the amount of toxic spike protein that can be made or for how long it is made, and that's the cause of the toxicity. Turning to the clinical trials, there is evidence of questionable practices all around. For example, several of the studies were clearly unblinded while they were ongoing, and also, in a number of cases, subjects were removed from the database prior to statistical analysis in a way that is suggestive of fraud. We were given blanket assurances time and again by all of the companies about the benign safety profile of their products. Even as the products rolled out in the earliest weeks, they must have known this was not true. It appears that these products provide little or no protection from the virus that they sought to protect us from. And finally, they cannot claim lack of anticipatory knowledge because the companies and the FDA knew that products of this type would produce many toxicities.
And that was Michael Yeadon. He wrote part of the book that I did the interview with Reed Sheftal. You can check that out. Heroes and Villains on my podcast.
Correct.
And this is Ed Dowd. We have the greatest colossal financial and human fraud endeavor in the history of the globe.
If I'm correct, the implications are grim. If I'm correct, let's assume I am, for the sake of this argument, I'm correct. We have the greatest colossal financial and human fraud endeavor in the history of the globe. And it was done with the assistance of the government, global governments, and also the media companies and the tech companies. And the implications of that are that the FDA, the CDC, and the NIH have to be blown up and rebuilt. A lot of the politicians that have allowed this to happen and haven't spoken up, they're all going to potentially be voted out of office. There'll be lawsuits. Pfizer and Moderna could both go bankrupt. The tech folks and the media folks could be sued. I mean, this is a loss of trust in all institutions. Some governments could be overthrown in higher vaccinated countries. So this is the implications of this are kind of mind-boggling. And again, that's assuming I'm correct. In my humble opinion, I'm 100% correct, but that's me.
Is that there is no question that there
This is Fauci predicting this whole outbreak as if he knew it.
Be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. Is that there is no...
Dr. Fauci, I don't know if you saw it, but on Monday...
This is a remarkable interview that Fauci did fairly recently. Today is January 9th, 2023. I recorded this on the 7th. And he is lying through his teeth. He's just making stuff up. It's really an incredible timestamp to see him lie. And And he's pulling this, in my opinion, pulling the same trick where he's blaming the myocarditis on this virus, that nobody ever talked about myocarditis being a side effect of this virus. So he's blaming what the shot has done, the gene therapy, on the virus. And that's what he did with AZT and HIV. This is a monster. This is literally one of the biggest monsters I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if there's somebody worse than Fauci or Gates. Maybe it's Gates. This is, and he does not reference, this is very telling, the subtext of this talk, he doesn't reference any statistics. He just says science, and I'm saying, and it's just rhetoric. It's incredible.
Football this week, DeMar Hamlin, player for the Buffalo Bills, collapsed on.
This guy's part of the problem too. I don't know. It's Stone Phillips. That right?
Field. You're not an NFL expert, and you're not an expert on any cardiovascular issues the player might have had. But what I want to ask you about Dr. Fauci is, as I want to do in moments like that, I kept an eye on Twitter. And I can't tell you exactly how many minutes transpired, but it was less than 20 before people on Twitter began to say, well, clearly the vaccine caused his seizure.
Yeah, it's always Twitter too. They just focus on Twitter. That's the one they haven't captured. So the losers at Facebook and Instagram and all these other garbage tech sites, they're not mentioning them. It's only Twitter. Very interesting.
And that had a multiplier effect on Twitter, as these things tend to do. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is one of concern about.
Is it horror? Borderline? More than concern?
Yeah, it's horror that misinformation and disinformation, when you have a platform like social media.
You're gonna find out these Fauci files. He's involved in misinforming, getting rid of proper, good information. So he's playing this game. It goes back to Agenda 201. They knew it. They knew that they were going to have to address these issues during this pandemic.
That exponentially spreads in its best form.
And that's the 5G element. So my last one was titled Bioweapon Blues 26, World War III 5E. So 5 is for fifth generation warfare, E electronic. It should have been B5E, biological fifth generation E. They're making war against you. This is a person making war against the American people.
Proper and important and value-added information can spread, which is good.
Yes.
The thing, as a public health person and as a physician and a scientist, and my identity as a physician is the thing that gets pained the most by that. Because what that means, Major, is that yet again, another conspiracy theory, complete nonsense, is going to have some people make a decision.
When anybody calls me a conspiracy theorist, I feel like I won. He's not addressing the issues, not addressing the data. It's really incredible.
Themselves and their family not to get vaccinated, which may cost them their lives. So that's the thing that's so horrible about it. And if you want to go out spouting nonsense, conspiracy theories and spreading it all around, fine, except if it results in a person suffering and perhaps dying. And that's what happens when disinformation.
Just to let you know, Stanford professor Ioannidis came out with a new study, an epidemiological study, that showed that whatever was called COVID, which is burned through the whole system, there's no COVID anymore. But whatever was COVID was even less lethal. So just total lies. Not even addressing these. And I think it was peer reviewed too, whether that means anything these days, but Ioannidis's paper was peer reviewed. So
incentivizes people to get proper interventions for a threat like a pandemic.
And in some of these instances, as you well know, Dr. Fauci, there is some shred of evidence myocarditis was related to vaccines. It is a heart issue. I'm not a doctor, you are. That's a shred, right, of evidence.
A very small shred, right.
And explain how then this...
It's not a small shred of evidence if like 25 out of 1,000 get it. Sorry.
Of course, in a very, very rare case,
some of the mRNA vaccines can cause a self-limiting, almost invariably benign.
Just total lies. There's nothing benign. There's nothing benign about myocarditis, period. If you get diagnosed, likelihood of death 30 to 50%, 5 years. That's like black letter medicine.
Inflammatory response in the heart, which generally resolves in a very short period of time.
Once you watch this guy, the more and more you watch him, he's just talking off the seat of his pants. He's lying. He's dissembling. He's minimizing and emphasizing things. I can't believe this guy had it. It's incredible.
It is very, very rare. When you compare that with the negative effects on the heart by myocarditis or pericarditis, which is inflammation of either the heart muscle or the covering of the heart, and heart failure and heart medical problems, overwhelmingly COVID itself causes that.
That's the big lie right there. Incredible. Blatant lying. I can prove that in a court of law. Liar, monster, child killer, family annihilator. Should have been arrested so long ago. Government's just a total joke, man. So embarrassing.
A dramatically higher rate than the relatively benign, mild myocarditis that you might have with a vaccine.
There's no such thing as relatively mild myocarditis. Sorry. Liar. Garbage person. This guy, Major Garrett, is a total loser, too. These are people you like spit on and throw rotten tomatoes and cabbage at.
Very, very rare. So that little thread of proof is it possible that he was vaccinated? And the fact is, someone came out, and I just read this. I haven't validated.
He's trying to save himself. He's actually out of his job already, still doing rounds on the boob tube that only idiots really watch.
But I've read that some physician came out and made the incorrect statement that he had just vaccinated this football player a week earlier to add to the conspiracy that he was recently vaccinated and therefore that's why he collapsed on the field. When if you look at the film, it's clear.
The fact that Fauci is referencing this one assumed false statement made on social media indicates clearly to me that he's closely monitoring everything that's happening, because that was just one little blip in the social media stream that somebody said that. So he's watching that Hamlin thing. He's watching everything. Hamlin thing is.
That he had a very big, strong person's shoulder go into his chest, which clearly.
That's even a lie too. I think Hamlin was the one who did the tackle. So.
Can cause a traumatic injury to the heart. And yet the conspiracy theory about this related to vaccine.
He's making it up as he goes along. It's incredible.
You're right. It's spread all over.
And that's been something you have been living with and living through the entire COVID process.
And this.
Here's another demon from the pit of hell. He's trying to change the whole story. Bill Gates.
When we look at vaccines, they were the miracle of this epidemic. They saved millions of lives.
Lie. Stone cold lie. Stone cold lie.
But they can be far better. We need to invent easier to deliver vaccines that are just a patch you put on your arm or something that you inhale. We need vaccines that actually block infections. In this case, there were lots of breakthrough infections. We need vaccines that are broad spectrum, so they work against most of the emerging variants, which we did not have this time. And we also need factories that are standing by so we can build enough vaccines for the entire world within 6 months. Now, our foundation, the Gates Foundation, is very involved in vaccines, the invention of new vaccines, funding vaccines, and we're very proud that through joint efforts like Gavi, that saved tens of millions of lives. So
these guys are lying. They're trying to save themselves. They caused millions of deaths from these shots. They're not vaccines. They're gene therapy. So he's lying about that. They know that people would not have accepted these shots into their arm if people said, here, have some gene therapy. Vaccine sounds traditional. These are not traditional vaccines by definition.
Ironic to have somebody turn around and say, no, we're using vaccines to kill people or to make money, or we started the pandemic. Yeah,
you're doing all that.
strange things like that I somehow want to track, the location of individuals because I'm
Didn't you just say in one of my last videos that you were watching everything on social media?
so deeply desirous to know where everybody is.
It's just another monster. Here's Borla back in 2021 saying like people who were circulating misinformation were criminals. This guy's in trouble too.
Of professionals, which they circulate on purpose misinformation so that they will mislead those that they have concern. Those people are criminals. There is a very small part.
Yeah, those people are criminals. And this is your Mr. 81 million votes. This is so bad. It's all tied into the stolen elections.
140 countries around the world. And so I'll paraphrase the phrase of my own neighborhood. The rest of the countries, the world's not a patch on our genes. If we do what we want to do, we need to do. It's never been a good bet. Travel over 100.
I don't think you can get on a.
Here's another monster. I mean, this guy, I've talked to people in France who said his election was sketchy too. That he came in, like, people don't like him, but he still won.
Or a train besides vaccinated people.
Lest you forget, when Biden was running, he didn't even win any of the primaries. He did Harris.
And put them at risk. Those people are putting us all at risk. I don't think you can get.
Getting that shot really was an amazing feeling. It hits you.
I've played that before, but it's incredible. The kids are dying. I'm going to show that in the following slides once I go to the slides. They're child murderers.
It hits you. Getting that shot really was an amazing feeling. It hits you.
You mentioned restricting non.
This is Vardit Ravitsky saying that she's going to lay down the law on people. You get no food or medication.
Access to vaccine passports. They've just done that with liquor stores and cannabis stores, for instance. But you're saying go all the way. Do that to everything outside of a grocery store you can go into to get the food you need, but that's it. Otherwise, it's your home and essential stuff. That's the only thing.
I would say if you need access to food and access to medications, grocery stores, supermarkets, pharmacies, everything else that is not food and medications that you need for your health at this point becomes in a way, a luxury for you because you made your choice not to get the vaccine, and we cannot allow you to circulate freely and to increase the burden on the healthcare system.
You'd mentioned restricting non-essential access to vaccine.
Leanna Wen told us on CNN was a lie. And we know that for certain because amazingly, Leanna Wen just admitted it. This week, Wen acknowledged that actually, this is not a pandemic of the unvaccinated. It's the opposite. The CDC, she said, has now determined that, quote, vaccinated people who never had COVID were at least 3 times as likely to be infected as unvaccinated people with a prior infection. And a Lancet study, continuing the quote, found that those who were vaccinated but never had COVID were 4 times as likely to have a severe illness resulting in hospitalization or death compared to the unvaccinated who recovered from it. I mean, what? So the vaccinated are 4 times as likely to be hospitalized or die from COVID. 4 times. So it turns out that none of your vax propaganda was true, to put it mildly. It was all a lie. The question is, can we get our lives back now? How about our economy, our jobs? When's the part when you break down in wrecking sobs of contrition and beg forgiveness for misleading the entire country in matters of life and death and hurting people? We look forward to that part, though obviously we're not holding our breath. For now, it is satisfying enough to see a lie identified for what it always was.
This is a recent collapse. It was Old Dominion player, drops down. So this is the consequences of all these liars and all these deceivers and all. They're murderers. They tried to do this kind of genocide, and it's not really eugenics. This is depopulation. They tried to do this genocide with a kind of hands-off thing, but the causation to me is clear. They are murdering little kids like this. This is a college-age basketball player. Then you had Hamblin. just went down. This is the next generation. There's coinciding many deaths and less births same time. So get ready. 2023 is going to be very, very grim. This is a family we're expecting a child, and the baby didn't have a heartbeat.
GP said that it's highly recommended for pregnant women because the risk of getting COVID during pregnancy and having side effects and all this other stuff. Anyway, I had my first dose, and then 3 weeks later, I had my second dose. I had my second dose the day of that second scan. So this was on the 8th of December. And then on the 4th of January, when we went to the hospital in WA, is when we found out that he didn't have a heartbeat anymore. And so for this scan, he was measuring 12 weeks and 4 days, which is, I think we were 12 weeks and 5 days, but about right. When they measured him, when we found out that he had passed away, he was measuring like just shy of 12 weeks, which is obviously smaller than that last scan, but at that point, he had been dead for like 3.5 weeks. Inside me, and my body like didn't know that he wasn't alive anymore.
That's what you're going to see. I already see pictures of this as pictures of mothers holding their stillborn children. It's going to be an epidemic. It already is, probably. It's just unreported. So this is a video of a woman who, after the first dose of Pfizer, can't walk. She can't feed her child. Stop the shots. Stop the shots immediately. It's emergency. Stop them. Look at what they're doing to people. Here's another one where somebody had their video camera, security camera, showing somebody flopping. And this is what a real flop looks like. Not these fake things, not the fake flops in China, but this is what happens when you really flop and you don't even put your hands out to stop you. It says here, Nashville, Veronica started having seizures 5 days after dose 2. A camera in her home captured one of them, as seen in the video. She has not been able to work and lost her license to drive until she is seizure-free for 1 year. So this is a human catastrophe, the worst catastrophe ever to strike the U.S., no question. Worse than the Vietnam War, worse than World War II. You're just watching it in kind of real time. So that was the end of the videos. I'm going to go to just some quick slides real quick. So let's see. This has died suddenly. It says Canada is now beginning to compensate family members for the dab. It is reported that these vaccine injury compensation programs are prepared to pay out billions in damages. So, I don't see that reported on the news. This is just social media. Twitter. This is Janie. This is an MP from the UK. Says WHO is advising the government that we need to vaccinate babies down to 6 months who are at no risk from the virus itself when there's a clear risk from having the vaccine. This doesn't make scientific sense, right? Because they're trying to kill you. Trying to kill the kids. And this is also Jane Burgermeister, an Austrian investigative journalist warned the world that the swine flu vaccine was approaching its 2009 release and that a great crime was underway. So that was back 2009. So they've done this before. And this is Michael Yeadon. I just showed his video. And physician, basically he's saying they should be indicted for fraud. There's tons of fraud. The whole thing is replete with fraud. Everything was fraudulent. They lied about everything. This is Harvey Risch. CDC doesn't think it's their job to analyze the VAERS database data to keep us safe. That's right. It's a huge part of the scandal. They didn't inform the people. There were all kinds of markers that were supposed to be triggered that didn't get triggered. And this is a fateful haven. They're honestly going to try and shift the blame from the jabs and their awful, corrupt decisions. The question for 2023, will we let them? That's a good question. These are all monsters. These are a danger. These are a threat to your kids and your family. It's no question. These are a clear and present danger to your family. The Biden administration is wrapped into this, kids. Make no mistake. This is Bernie. The Internet of Bodies, medical implants to connect citizens to the state. They killed your religion so they could become gods. Yeah, they sure they did. This is McCullough. Fauci and Barrick have been in the business of coronaviruses since 2002. They patented everything to do with them, so no one could profit except them. Yeah, we haven't even found out their profits yet. We don't even know. It's not even disclosed. That's how corrupt it became. That's how that allowance of this criminality is incredible. And this is a video that should be watched by everybody. Ralph Barrick worked directly with scientists in Wuhan, openly admits that you can sequence a virus and leave no signature. This is just another element of death. And you can go through some of these threads that are on Twitter, died suddenly, and just the deaths are off the charts. Behold a pale horse. It's off the charts. It's unbelievable. And the media is complicit. This is Hitch Your Horse a Ride. Needed ASAP. My son-in-law is here in Michigan, and he has just notified that his 24-year-old daughter had a stroke this morning, not expected to make it. He just started a new job, no paycheck yet, and airline ticket would be in excess of $1,200. Can some of you give him rides from Michigan to Arizona to say goodbye to his daughter? He has a CDL and could help drive. Thank you. This is Health by James. 100% of kids 14 to 16 with mRNA COVID vaccine-induced myocarditis had damaged hearts at 3 to 6 months follow-up. Incredible. So the myocarditis doesn't go away. There's Fauci talking about it being light and mild, just totally lying. COVID vaccines linked to a 145 times increase in reports of menstrual abnormalities. This is December 31st. Incredible. What they found too is that the ones who get myocarditis seem to have the spike proteins moving around in their blood, and the ones that don't have it don't have the presence of the spike protein. To get the spike protein out of your blood, take ivermectin. That's my understanding. So if you've been exposed, it might be a good idea. And the FLCCC, who I mentioned from the very beginning of this whole series, has a protocol for 6 weeks of ivermectin to get that spike protein out of your body. That's the toxin. mRNA COVID vaccine-induced IgG64 antibody class shift may reduce the body's ability to clear future infections. So it actually is affecting your immune system negatively. Vigilant Fox, these are stunning numbers. 1 in 4 children unable to perform daily activities after 3 COVID inoculations. And this is from 4,362 participants who completed the survey between December 9th, 2021 and August 21, 2022. It's incredible. Just mass murder. Stop everything. Stop the shots. It's incredible. Dr. Thomas Binder. The basis of the corona hoax are the Corman-Drosten nonsense RT-PCR test to crank up and down the case numbers according to the script. The myth of epidemiologically relevant asymptomatic transmission to enact ineffective, harmful NPIs, even for healthy people, and the Moderna craze. He got censored. This is Mark Crispin Miller. I recommend you check him out. He's doing kind of a global survey. I've covered cases in the US, but it's happening all over the world. And his title here is How to Make a Living in a World of People Dropping Dead. Even this apocalyptic nightmare has a silver lining, like some caskets. And he shows all these jobs are open for requests. Canada, US. They need people to take care of the bodies. UK, Australia, New Zealand. So the funeral jobs are going up. And it was interesting. It goes back to the very series 1 of the Bioweapon Blues, where I referenced Charlie Robinson's episode where he says, we're all the people. There's going to be a huge amount of missing people. And I think it was Dowd who said 1.5 million Americans have entered into disability within the last couple of years. So it's disabling people as well. It's just it's a holocaust. It's a tragedy. These people are monsters. Denis Rancourt, I've mentioned him. He's just showing Trudeau just lying and being a monster. Trudeau's a weird case. He kind of like is a malevolent drama kid, like he went through drama classes but was evil. That's what he reminds me of. It's very strange. Our Voices Matter, Australian data 2021, 36 COVID deaths per million, 2022, 500 COVID deaths per million post-vax. And this is the EUNIDIS report that I mentioned earlier. This came out December 31st, 2022. Analysis suggests a much lower pre-vaccinated COVID infection fatality rate, or IFR, in non-elderly populations than previously suggested. Median IFR was 0.0003%. Wow. So it's just nothing. This is No Amnesty 2023, Naomi Wolf, and they're saying, this is just further statement that I mentioned, I think, in the last show. Walensky is taking records off of the VAERS database. Somebody at the CDC is taking the numbers and juicing the numbers. It says Dr. Ely has confirmed, and Jessica Rose also confirms independently, that CDC, meaning Dr. Walensky, has removed 32,000 records of myocarditis and pericarditis from the VAERS database between September of 2022 and December of 2022, reported Dr. Naomi Wolf. Wow. Cover up. These are letters to Walensky about the mRNA injection. Somebody writes, injection is a poisonous attack on the population and should be stopped immediately. Yeah, that's right. The legal implications are beyond comprehension. That's right. He's warning her. He says, what you may be a party to is criminal negligence at the least. Imposing or mandating this vaccine on human beings is a violation of the Nuremberg Code, which prohibits medical experimentation on human beings. Please give careful consideration to what's been said here. Your face or one of your loved ones could be the next ones added to this tragic Hall of Fame. Yeah. And somebody sent something to her saying, complicit in murder. I think she's complicit in murder. She knows. She had all that information in middle of 2021 of the damages being done. She hasn't stopped. So it's been a year and a half. She's so sick. These are monsters. Red Voice Media, Fauci and his buddies at the NIH received $350 million in royalties from Big Pharma. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Quote, we can estimate over the last decade just how much money flowed from third-party payers, think pharma companies, back to NIH and its scientists, and that's nearly $350 million. Incredible. Vigilant Fox, it's all coming together. Man in America, U.S. makes the case that the C-19 injections are CCP bioweapons. The defense minister of China in 2000 said that they would have to use a bioweapon to kill millions and colonize America because nuclear weapons would damage the farmland. Bioweapon Blues 27. This is Health by James, new bombshell study. 1 in 16 pregnant and post-pregnant women experienced debilitating booster side effects. This is Walter Chestnut. I recommend people follow him as well. Internal third-degree burns. The spike protein burns the endothelium. Long COVID may persist for years or be lifelong if the spike protein is continually expressed. That's what they don't know. This is gene therapy. They don't know when the spike protein stops. It's just a huge, they might know. The people are saying that they don't know, and some of these people who promoted these shots say they don't know, but they may have known. They may have some kind of secret study or something out of top secret or double top secret. I have no idea. They may know exactly that this causes these problems, which should terrify everybody. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. It's the First Amendment was a big victory for all humanity. In 2020, I exposed the entire government and big tech censorship infrastructure in a federal lawsuit. And the interviewer asked him, "Are you afraid they might kill you?" And I asked him, "What is the purpose of life?" So he asked me back. This guy has a lot of courage. I admire this guy a lot. Twitter, I think censored him and also did some kind of background stuff. And I think he was running for an election and he got scammed out of an election too. Black boxed out of an election. I don't recall the full story. This is Annette. Before and after Pfizer booster, November 2021, broken heart, the flower on the table was a gift from a dear friend. I've put it there and hope that with its beauty, it can remove the focus from the injuries and pain I'm trapped in, from athlete to disabled in one jab. MP says COVID-19 is a manufactured bioweapon, and security services knew about it in August 2019. Wow. Rhoda Wilson. That's Andrew Bridgen. So this bioweapon thing keeps popping up. Death from C-19 injections are likely 3 times those from C-19 itself. Why hasn't the WHO provided ISD codes for these? Peter Halligan, January 2nd. Good question. I bet the actual real C-19 deaths are fake. That they just juiced all the numbers, called it COVID. People died of other comorbidities. They put them on vents and killed them and just said, "Oh, COVID." That's what they're doing. That's how criminal and corrupt these bad bums are. I just showed Fauci doing that. Peter McCullough, January 2nd, 2023. Ladipova, 6 major preclinical areas of testing and refinement skipped by Pfizer. DARPA started pandemic mRNA vaccination development in 2012, Adept Protect P3 program. What were they doing all those years? Suddenly Pfizer has to do a rush job? Very important. Ladipova is a very important researcher. Peter McCullough, New Year starts with intensifying calls to pull COVID-19 vaccines from public use. I wish you would stop saying that. It's not a vaccine. It's a bioweapon. Peter Hotez, this is a guy, supposedly I heard a rumor that he was going to take Fauci's job. He's a dingbat. He's dangerous. This is January 1st. So you can prove these people. They're putting it in writing, which is good. He writes here, anti-vaccine activists doubling down on weaponizing the VAERS reporting system to make it appear mRNA vaccines are dangerous. They're not. Here are some good articles about this. Peter Halligan, Cult of Moloch, Canada version. If you are a criminal, you want to hide any and all evidence. Trudeau is a criminal. 23 Canadian children have died in the past month, and no one is talking about it. The Vigilant Fox as well. It's just starting. It's just starting. I don't know what the security services are doing or law enforcement. It's incredible. You're paying the CIA and the Department of Defense for this? You have $700 billion a year. Wow. Unreal. No amnesty 2023, January 2nd, 2023. December 16th, 2020, President Trump holds a cabinet meeting about hydroxychloroquine. The head of the VA admits it's one of the important drugs they use to protect and preserve life of our veterans. And on any given day, they administer up to 42,000 doses. This was censored. Why? Good question. The Biden administration's in on it, guys. This is Fauciologist, the Z Science. What separates conspiracy theory from the reality visible to zombies are the days, because reality is like light and always wins against darkness. Unfortunately, we have seen a huge increase in cancer cases in recent months. Why is that? Climate change, Putin's fault? And this is Martina Navratilova tells Novak Djokovic to go home and walk away from Australian Open. And then Martina Navratilova, tennis legend, diagnosed with throat and breast cancer. Probably took all the shots. No amnesty 2023, August 23rd, 2020, Mark Levin interview with Dr. Harvey Risch from Yale. He talks about hydroxychloroquine and how we could have saved up to 85% of the people that died from COVID. He also tells how Dr. Fauci did the same thing with the drug Bactrim back in the 80s with AIDS patients. Arrest Fauci immediately. The Nose writes, remember when our government did more to stop the distribution of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine than fentanyl? Yeah, good question. This is October 28th, 2020, 2 months before the first vaccine rollout. Fauci's talking to another monster, Mark Zuckerberg, total piece of human trash. This would not be the first time if it happened that a vaccine looked good in initial safety actually made people worse. Well, this never looked good in initial safety because we have the documents that had 1,300 side effects. Yeah, he's a pathological liar. This is a guy, Jeremy Jurgens. I featured his video in the last series, 26, but he made predictions that there's going to be another pandemic. Wow. Coming from the WEF, so get ready. This is from Paul Elias Alexander. I mention him all the time. 61 efficacy studies that rebuke vaccine mandates. Texas Lindsay, December 30th, 2022. FDA panel for mRNA shots for ages 6 months to 5 years. FDA panelist Dr. Meissner warns that kids have a better chance of being struck by lightning than dying from C-19, and parents should be aware of the risk-benefit ratio. Well, it's probably true. I wouldn't touch it. You cannot give these toxic kill shots to kids. This is the Vigilant Fox again. Dr. William Mackis has a theory. It explains why health authorities are so silent about this emerging influenza crisis. Dr. William Mackis is a Canadian physician, cancer researcher, and author of over 100 peer-reviewed medical publications. He believes the mRNA injections are damaging the immune systems of young kids to the point where they are unable to fight off common infections that young, healthy children should be able to fend off. And through his own research has found 23 Canadian children who have died suddenly or unexpectedly over the last month. He explains, quote, now a lot of this is being attributed to influenza. A few have been attributed to streptococcus infections that had been fatal, that shouldn't be fatal. Then there are also sudden deaths that are strange that really no one is talking about at all. Yeah. This causes damage to everything. This toxic shot causes damage to everything. Peter McCullough, proper use of VAERS would have been shut down. Proper use of VAERS would have shut down program for excess mortality before February 1st, 2021. Program sponsors, CDC, FDA, recklessly continued it without risk mitigation, will be culpable upon investigation and justice phases of pandemic. Vigilant Fox, Ed Dowd. This is what we call democide, death by government. From the beginning of summer to the fall, there were 61,000 excess millennial deaths. Basically, millennials experienced a Vietnam War in the second half of 2021. What happened at that time? C-19 vax mandates. That's January 2nd, 2023. This is Elon Musk says Fauci files coming this week as more Twitter files drops expected. ethical skeptic. I mention him often. My dude, excess mortality is both the correct measure and the index that the CDC evaluates. Right now, those heart-related numbers do not look good at all. Excess mortality 2019, middle of the road. Excess mortality in 2022, 15 sigma high. Nadia, I've lost count of the female friends around me dealing with severe menstrual disorders on a monthly basis over 1.5 years post-vax. This is not a fleeting side effect. What the hell have they done to women and girls? Yeah, there's going to be a massive decrease in childbirth. Peter McCullough, January 3rd, 23. National survey finds 28% personally know of a death caused by COVID-19 vaccines. It's not a vaccine. This is Norman Fenton. How many lives did the COVID vaccines really save? A response to Steve Kirsch's challenge. And they had this fake modeling that they used, like, we saved 20 million lives. Total fake. It's just more lies. They're just constantly lying. They can't stop. This is Carla Garicki. I'm back. Got 7 days for asking whether Fauci lied, millions died, would be held accountable after a Nuremberg 2 type trial. Elon Musk, can we pay a fee to see behind the curtain on IC activity on our accounts? My engagement went up 100% when you took over before recent lock, January 3rd, 2023. This is Egyptus. Elena Books, chair of the German Ethics Council, warns against assigning blame for pandemic failures, would prefer instead honest retrospection and learning, because that sounds much nicer. Yeah, no way, never. All these countries are starting to research these cases. This is breaking. German parliament. Vice president calls for investigation into COVID vaccine deaths and damages. Japan launches an official investigation into millions of COVID vaccine deaths. This is Kanioka Substack. I think this was promoted by Elon Musk, but I don't think he's gotten the Twitter files, but this is a long thread. In the first one, he writes, Pfizer has habitually engaged in illegal and corrupt marketing practices, bribed physicians, and suppressed adverse trial results. This is no secret, yet this fact continues to be brushed under the rug by politicians and the media. And this is a meme. Gates is saying, what in the gates of hell is happening? And Fauci responds, they stopped watching mainstream news and started doing their own unbiased research. Yeah, that's right. This is some influencer. Saffron Barker's older brother was rushed to the hospital Thursday after suffering a near fatal heart attack. Just 27. Healthy. Walter Chestnut. Spike protein alone induces endoplasmic reticulum stress, an explanation for emerging heterogeneous pathologies. The Vigilant Fox, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Fauci has led America to become a country of chronic disease. This answers your previous question. Why aren't we seeing sick kids? We are. When Tony Fauci came into office, 6% of American children had chronic disease. By 2006, 54%. This is like a little... This is James Hill. NIH insider doctor exposes deadly operation and network of alleged perpetrators immune from public criticism. Steve Kirsch, January 4th. The COVID vaccine's unsafe and ineffective. It's time for the CDC to call a spade a spade. The data is overwhelming. These vaccines make you more likely to die from COVID as well as many other conditions, including died suddenly. That's right. This is John Stockton, famous point guard, NBA player. John Stockton boldly suggests thousands of pro athletes died after COVID vaccine shot. The former Utah Jazz star made his bold statement to Michelle Tafoya. This is Sil Carl. Young athletes in their prime not given informed consent and are being coerced into a medical procedure which is increasingly showing it may not be worth the risks, all in the name of profit. Exactly. James Sintolo. FDA did not release Pfizer's final report on subclinical myocarditis in kids aged 16 to 30 that was promised by December 31st, 2022. What is the U.S. FDA and Pfizer hiding? Demand this information be released. Yeah, not even submitting their final report, crooks. FDA, too. This is James Hill. This goes back to 2021, but it's about the differences in batch toxicity. Vaccine batches vary systematically in toxicity and are distributed to unsuspecting Americans by 3 companies. Texas Lindsay, 1 out of 44,000 clinical trial participants. Pfizer only used data from 170 participants to claim 95% efficacy. Wow. Aiden. He explains why the spike protein is a bioweapon. What Big Pharma did was to combine that with the use of codon optimization, and by doing so created a supercharged bioweapon. It's life or death. Tell your whole family, don't take this thing. This is Health Freedom Unmuzzled, our vaccine injury story. It's not 1 in a million. It's about her children's vaccine injuries. This is January 4th. New bombshell study. Free-floating spike protein detected in the blood after mRNA vaccine-induced myocarditis. This is Peter Halligan, January 5th. How many people died because Letitia James, Office of the Attorney General of New York, ordered medics not to use ivermectin? I wonder if she got a little bit of a little bit of coin for that. Died suddenly. 3 officers in 1 week in 1 state have died suddenly. This is getting almost unbearable. Absolutely tragic. That was in Massachusetts. Young, healthy guys. Chief nerd, Joe Rogan sends an epic wake-up call to the COVIDians. Quote, the idea that you wouldn't be upset that you were duped into injecting actual poison when you were thinking that this was somehow going to save people and save the world is so insane. Yeah, it is. This is Matt Taibbi. Regarding the Twitter files, the American government was up to its eyeballs in censorship. Yeah, why is it up to its eyeballs in censorship? Good question. Quote, we can say pretty conclusively after looking at tens of thousands of emails over the course of these weeks that the government was in the censorship business in a huge way. This is Rogan O'Handley. Today I received this message from a former NFL player. So many current and former players are scared of what this vax is doing to their friends, and they're not allowed to discuss it publicly. I promised him I would be his voice, but my God, what is happening to us? This is horrible. And the message is, if I die from a sudden heart attack or drop dead, I 100% believe it was from the COVID vaccine received in 2021. I want you to be my voice and fight for me if I somehow pass. This may seem extreme, but recently I've had more than a few people I've known to be healthy individuals just drop out of nowhere with no explanation. The vaccine being the common thing they all had in common. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for listening.